The appointment this week of Keith Burris as the Post-Gazette's new executive editor raised some eyebrows. Burris now oversees both the editorial page and the news content.
He also takes over at a time of turmoil at the newspaper. John Delano sat down with Burris for an exclusive interview today to talk about the controversy surrounding the paper.
In the midst of tough labor negotiations, tensions in the Post-Gazette newsroom run high, especially after a dramatic weekend visit from publisher John Robinson Block, where he allegedly shouted and screamed at reporters and staff. On Wednesday, newly appointed executive editor Keith Burris sat down with me for a no-holds-barred interview, including Block's behavior. Was that appropriate conduct?
That's not something I can comment on. There's a complaint before the National Labor Relations Board.
So I tried a different approach. If an employee of yours had behaved that way in this newsroom, what would your reaction have been to that?
Well, I wasn't here, so I don't think that would be appropriate for me to weigh in on.
Well, would there be a consequence if somebody came into the newsroom, an employee, and was allegedly yelling and shouting, threatening people?
Well, you know, you'd have to have all the facts to make a judgment, and I think I've answered the question.
Burris was brought in a year ago by Block to oversee the editorial page, which in the view of many has now moved from its once liberal stance to a more conservative one, evidenced by discharging anti-Trump cartoonist Rob Rogers. Do you regret firing Rob Rogers?
Well, that decision was the publisher's decision. Decisions of that kind are at that level. And that was I would say that the cartoonist almost fired himself.
But the new cartoonist, Steve Kelly, was accused by some of being sexist for his portrayal of women.
Cartoonists get reaction if they're good cartoonists, and he's a very fine cartoonist.
You don't think that he's sexist?
I do not think he's sexist, no.
Burris says the Block family has taken a financial hit maintaining a newspaper in Pittsburgh.
And you would have to call it philanthropic. The losses they've taken over many, many years, huge losses to produce a great newspaper.
John Delano, KDKA News.